Welcome into Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yow alongside Mo Patton here on this Tuesday edition of the show. Mo, welcome in, and what's going on? How are you? Oh, you are off. That's my bad.
Wow.
I had to turn you off yesterday, and I forgot that I did that. It's okay. It's a tradition.
It's a throwback Tuesday.
It's a throwback Tuesday. It's exactly what it is.
Yeah. Okay. You want to ask me again?
Oh, what's going on? How are you?
I'm good. Enjoying this weather. Actually, rode down here with the windows open.
Windows down, radio up. It's good. This is fall spring. Just for those of you out there who just
enjoy it while you can.
Enjoy it, but yeah, it's an interesting time of year.
It's supposed to be like this all week. Maybe a little rain, but still relatively warm for second week in February. So,
well, I'm certain
I got no complaints.
Yeah, I'm not mad at all. You can give me this all year, or you can just give it to me occasionally whenever. I'll take it. I'm not going to be picky about when we get good weather. That's the thing is. We don't always have it, so when we get it, I'm just going to be glad we got it.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, it's been a kind of a wild weekend, obviously, and we've got a lot to talk about today, including our weekly visit with Chip Walters. We'll talk about Middle Tennessee State athletics. The men's basketball team had a pretty good weekend. The women did not. Very unfortunate, unless you're the TSSAA, in which case you're feeling a little bit less pressure today. We'll talk to Dave Hooker, talk a little Vols.
Probably talk a little Lady Vols as well.
Probably talk some Lady Vols after last night's double overtime loss to Mississippi State. We'll talk about Texas and Oklahoma. We didn't get a chance to do that yesterday, although I did want to bring up a couple of names that my dad mentioned for Alabama, which I thought was interesting.
Chuck weighing in, huh?
Yeah, he sent us a text yesterday, and I didn't see it until after the show. So we'll get into Texas, Oklahoma, what the holdup is. Ross Dellinger of Sports Illustrated has a piece out kind of detailing what's kind of going on in those negotiations. And of course, it's Top 5 Tuesday. So Top 5 Tuesday means that we will draft the top 5 category. Today's category is individual Super Bowl performances. So Should be a lot of fun. We got a lot to get to. We're going to do that. Before we do anything else, though, we give you last night's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
In girls high school basketball action from Monday night, Clarksville defeated Henry County 62-40. Cornersville defeated Eagleville 44-41. East Robertson with a 45-40 win over Greenbrier. Hampshire downed Frank Hughes 45-39. Joe Burns with a 58-5, yes, 58-5 win over Knowledge Academies. Lawrence County 52, Lincoln County 50. Watertown 61, Trousdale County 31. Wayne County defeats Mount Pleasant 72-22. Springfield with a 60-43 win over West Creek, and Riverside Christian 50, Zion Christian 19.
Boys basketball action, Henry County 61-44 winners over Clarksville. It was Eagleville 60, Cornersville 52, Greenbrier 55-50 winners over East Robertson. It's Frank Hughes 65, Hampshire 21. Knowledge Academies downs Joe Burns 62-40, and Lawrence County a 60-36 winner over Lincoln County, completing the sweep there. Watertown 46-35 winners over Trousdale County, and Mount Pleasant with a big win over Wayne County 68-52. It was West Creek 58, Springfield 56. Westmoreland downs Franklin Glasgow 70-53, and Zion Christian with a win over Riverside 66-40. And as I mentioned just moments ago, in women's basketball action, Mississippi State defeats Tennessee in double overtime 91-90.
Tonight's schedule. Westmoreland plays at Allen County, Kentucky. I'm assuming it's a 6 o'clock start, but we don't have that confirmed.
I don't know where Allen County, Kentucky is.
Scottsville.
I don't know. I assume it's Central Time, but I don't know.
Yes, it is. It's
Okay.
Central Time.
Then it probably is 6.
Yeah. At 5:30, Antioch plays at Knowledge Academies. The rest of these doubleheaders are 6 o'clock starts. Smyrna is at Antioch. Columbia Academy girls. This is not a doubleheader. This is a girls-only game, and it is the quarterfinals of the Division IIA District 3 tournament.
Gotcha.
Columbia Academy is at Battleground Academy. Hillsborough is at Brentwood Academy. Davidson Academy is at Clarksville Academy. I'm betting that's a girls-only game in the other district, District 4 of DCA.
I was unaware that district tournaments were starting. Now I know.
Yes, now you know. Yes. It happens. Hopkinsville, Kentucky is at Clarksville Northwest. That's a 6 o'clock doubleheader. Santa Fe is at Collinwood. Nolansville is at Columbia Central. Richland is at Cullioca. Brentwood Academy is at Ensworth. Friendship Christian is at Ezel Harding. Sycamore goes to Fairview. Father Ryan hosts Lipscomb Academy. Martin Luther King is a Good Pasture. This is another girls-only game as Donaldson Christian goes to Good Pasture. Portland is at Greenbrier. Wayne County comes to Hampshire. White House Heritage is at Harpeth. Gallatin plays at Hendersonville. Hillwood hosts Hume Fogg. Joe Burns goes to Houston County. Eagleville is at Huntland. Franklin is at Independence. Overton hosts Centennial. Cane Ridge goes to Laverne. Marshall County is at Lawrence County. East Nashville is at Lead Academy. Mount Juliet is at Lebanon. Liberty Creek hosts Montgomery Central. Loretto hosts Lewis County. McGavock takes on Visiting Beach. In another girls-only playoff game, tournament game, Franklin Road Academy is at Middle Tennessee Christian. That's a 6 o'clock start. Community is at Murfreesboro Central in a doubleheader, and Rockvale is at Oakland.
Page hosting Tullahoma, and Grace Franklin is at Providence Christian. That is a girls only at 6 o'clock. Ravenwood hosting Summit, Pearl Cone at Republic, Stratford at Republic. So that should be fun. They got a try match. Republic is playing either Stratford or Pearl Cone. They'll be at home. So just go to Republic
and see who shows up.
Good for you. Kenwood will be at Rossview. Seagulls at home against Riverdale. Stewart's Creek goes to Smyrna, and Clarksville's at Springfield. Lincoln County comes to Spring Hill, and Christ Presbyterian is at St. Cecilia in a girls-only game.
Actually,
obviously,
I'm not so sure about that one because CPA is.
So when did St. Cecilia get a men's team? That's my bad. I didn't see that earlier.
Ding. Okay, so it's not necessarily a playoff game, but it is a girls-only game.
For sure.
Yes.
I just didn't see that one either. Hunters Lane and Station Camp, Giles County's at Summertown. Webb School hosting USN in a girls-only game. That's 6 o'clock. Northeast is at West Creek. Kip, Nashville is at Whites Creek. Green Hills at Wilson Central. And Lancaster is at Zion Christian. Another girls-only game, Harpeth Hall is at Pope Prep, but there is a doubleheader at Pope Prep as Montgomery Bell Academy will be playing Pope Prep's boys at 7:30. NBA action, the Bulls are at the Grizzlies. It's a 7 o'clock tip on Valley Sports Southeast, maybe, or South. I don't know.
Just go to Valley and look around.
And in the NHL action, the Golden Knights are at the Predators at 7 p.m. Puck drop, and it is college night for Tennessee State. So
That one's also on a Valley
one of the two.
channel.
There you go. And that's your rundown. Mo, we had a top story today, but we now have breaking news. The Tennessee Titans have an offensive coordinator, and it is Tim Kelly. Wah, wah, wah.
You know, we've been talking the last couple of days about Alabama's coordinator hires of Tommy Rees for OC and Kevin Steele for DC. And I think the word that I used was underwhelming.
Yes. This is incredibly underwhelming.
But not surprising.
Nope. Not at all. There's zero surprise to this.
Disappointing.
And
that
yes,
this is the first hire under the new general manager, Rand Carthon. But
I
don't know whose hire this is.
No, this is a Mike Vrabel hire.
Welcome to the new boss. Same as the old boss.
There you go. It's unfortunate, man. And look,
You had a chance. You had one job.
you had one job.
and you had a chance to really do something to go in a different direction, but maybe they don't want to go in a different direction.
Honestly, I mean, it's weird because you in one instance, I think the only thing that I really struggled with was play calling from not Arthur Smith.
Todd Downing.
From Todd Downing.
There we go.
But so maybe Tim Kelly's a better play caller. It's very possible. I think
I sure hope so.
it's hard to be worse. I think the most interesting part to this for me is Tim Kelly is the passing game coordinator. So I'm curious.
Does that mean we're going to pass more?
Does it? I also think that the passing game coordinator probably had a lot to do with route concepts, and our route concepts are not good and haven't been good.
But are our route concepts not good, or are our route concepts not good with these receivers?
They're just not good in general. I mean, you've got too many guys are in the same spot. Now, that being said, it could be the receivers running the incorrect depth. That's possible. That's what a lot of folks say happened on that first interception in the playoff game last year, was that Julio ran the wrong depth.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. That being said, I'm not sure that Tim Kelly makes much sense at all in the scheme that the Tennessee Titans need to be running.
Well, what's funny, though, is you say you're not sure that Tim Kelly makes much sense at all, but mid-season, we'd have taken Tim Kelly.
That's, I think, is my biggest concern, is if Mike Vrabel thought Tim Kelly was a better offensive coordinator than Todd Downing, why wasn't he named the offensive coordinator
At any point
during the season? He was on your staff. So if you were going to fire Todd Downing and hire Tim Kelly,
why
now
February
instead of
7th instead of October 7th?
Right. That's the question I have. And it's a legitimate question.
It is a legitimate question, and hopefully someone will ask it.
It would be nice. I mean, it just it's frustrating. It's frustrating when you're dealing with something like this. As a Titans fan, it's most frustrating because you know what this offense is capable of doing because we saw it 2 years ago. We saw a guy not only run for 2,000 yards, but Ryan Tannehill earned the contract that he got.
Mhm.
Now, he hasn't continued to earn it, but he earned it that year.
Right.
And maybe that's the thought process for Mike Vrabel is, well, this offensive coordinator tree has had success in the past.
How long has Tim Kelly been there?
See, I don't think he was there when Tannehill got there in Tannehill's first year. I don't think he was there. I think he got here last year.
Yeah, because he was offensive coordinator for the Texans from 19 to 21.
Well, there you go. Because they were tearing it up offensively. I mean, I understand it's Jimmy's and Joe's, and we don't got either of those.
Not in the receiving game.
I mean, and not up front, which are the two most important things in a passing game.
Now, here's what's interesting, because Ian Rappaport at Rap Sheet on Twitter is announcing that the Titans officially hired Tim Kelly as their new OC, while Charles London is their new pass game coordinator and quarterbacks coach. On defense, Chris Harris is their defensive pass game coordinator and cornerbacks coach, so I guess they were able to hold on to him after
Thank goodness.
They brought him in, and then he entertained some DC interviews, I think, here in the last week to 10 days. But
okay,
so Charles London is coming in from the Falcons, where he worked under Arthur Smith, right?
Right.
So
it's awfully incestuous at St. Thomas Sports Park. And listen, this may be my favorite comment under Ian's tweet here is as long as he doesn't take Derrick Henry out of the game on 3rd and 1, I'll be fine. And you know what? I can't disagree with that. That's the most egregious thing that Todd Downing consistently did.
Well, it's the most egregious thing that could be done.
And Downing did it consistently. So, you know, there's a level there that automatically makes him better as long as he doesn't do that. Now, I don't know. That's our top story for the day.
Also, according to Yahoo Sports and other outlets, I guess, in addition to those moves, Kelly, London, Harris, the Titans have hired a couple of defensive quality control coaches, Justin Hamilton and Lori Locust, the latter becoming the first female assistant in Tennessee Titans franchise history.
Formerly of the Bucks.
Mm-hmm. So I'm sure we'll be talking more about that as we go along.
Don't have a running backs coach. Rob Moore is the wide receivers coach. Tony Dews is the tight ends coach, who's the former running backs coach.
Right.
And former assistant O-line coach Jason Hufftaling. Hufftaling. You got any thoughts on that one, Justin?
It's a solid name.
Houghtaling. Houghtaling. I have no idea.
Human nature silent.
Jason. Coach H.
Jason H.
Coach H. What's up? He's offensive line coach. So Pat O'Hara is now a pass game analyst, and run game analyst is Luke Steckel, former tight ends coach. So,
speaking of incestuous,
yeah, it's just
Steckel being the son of former Titans assistant Les Steckel.
So there you go. Good luck, Tim Kelly. Hope you don't have Twitter. That's all I can tell you. And if you do, delete it. Trust me. That's your top story for the day. We will get to what was our top story a little bit later. But right now, we're going to take our first break of the day. And we'll talk to Dave Hooker of Off the Hook Sports coming right up on Main Street Sports Today. Presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Y'all stick around. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com. Welcome in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yow, Mo Patton here with you on this Tuesday edition. Top 5 Tuesday, top 5 individual Super Bowl performances coming up later in the show. Looking forward to it. Right now, though, we're going to head east, young man. Oh, wait, that's the wrong way. We go west, young man. To Dave.
But that's not the direction we're going
No,
in, though.
no. It's the wrong direction. Dave Hooker, though, is going to join us and talk a little Tennessee athletics. So welcome in, Dave. How are you, man?
I'm well. You don't need to put me on the big screen. That's a lot of Dave.
No.
That's a good background.
But the thing is, if you're on the big screen, then we're not.
Which is way better.
So
That's-
this is better.
That's fair. As for the background, Zach Galifianakis style, I'm between two ferns. If you've ever seen that show. So
That's good.
that's what my wife made me. I think there was a subtle hint there.
I think that's the first Zach Galifianakis. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. The first mention we've had of the guy from The Hangover, I think, on our show. So that's good. Dave, wanted to bring you on for a couple of reasons. I've not seen your YouTube video from last week where you questioned whether or not Kelly Harper was the right person for the University of Tennessee women's basketball coaching position. And I kind of questioned that at the time that I saw it come out. And then I watched last night's 91-90 double overtime loss at Mississippi State. And, you know, I have to preface this by saying I covered Kelly both in high school and in college and think the world of her and her family. I don't know how they lost that game last night. And I wonder if you're not right.
Well, let me say first and foremost that I like Kelly Harper a lot. I liked Holly Warlick. I was always a huge fan of Pat Summitt, even though I didn't cover them directly. I covered Tennessee football and some basketball, but men's basketball. So I'm not trying to take pot shots at all, but I do think it's fair to question right now the direction of the program. And I think last night was evidence of that. And yeah, as far as just from the fundamental standpoint of the hire, I think it's easy to hire somebody that has ties to Pat Summitt and that is a pretty good coach. But nowadays we're learning that unlike the days of Pat Summitt, where 2 or 3 or maybe 4 teams in a given year could win a championship, they're more like 14 to 16, somewhere in there. And I think if Tennessee wants to be an elite program again, even Gino Ariema's hasn't won, I believe, since 2016. So if they want to be elite, they're going to have to forget about Pat Summitt ties. And it pains me somewhat to say that, but I think that's why she got the job. And I think it's why Holly Warlick got the job.
I'm sure it's why Holly Warlick got the job. I think you're correct, and that's probably why Kelly got the job. I guess my question, though, Dave, is, and this is a question that I often ask when talking about potential coaching moves. Who would you replace Kelly Harper with? You know, if you could have anybody you wanted, who would you go get?
Well, I'm going to sound like I'm contradicting myself, but the natural person to call would be Kara Lawson, right? Now, she has a Tennessee tie as well, and she might not even want the job because of all that comes with it. But I think you would do a nationwide search. I think Danny White has proven that he's able to go out and hire really good coaches. He has ties to Katie Abrahamson Henderson at Georgia, so I just think you would open it up. And I want to be clear: I'm not throwing dirt on Kelly Harper's career at Tennessee. I've seen things turn around greatly before vastly in basketball, and who knows? Maybe she makes a run to the Final Four, and this looks like a stupid conversation in a month or so, but as of right now, unless that changes, I think you're looking at that potential for a coaching change for the Lady Vols.
Chris, you were mouthing what?
If I could have anybody, I'm calling Dawn Staley. Anybody.
Oh, yeah, but
That's not possible.
Well, no, that's
okay.
I guess I should have said, realistically speaking.
Okay.
Well, no, I think you bring up a really good point, because it kind of goes back to the football search, right? When everybody was saying John Gruden. Okay, John Gruden was never coming. He liked flirting with the university to get more TV money. All right. So do I think you could get Dawn Staley? Probably not. I think to some coaches, they will view the Tennessee job as the Lady Vols, the tradition and all that goes into it, as a negative, because it means higher expectations of somewhat following Pat Summitt, even though 2 coaches removed, would be a negative. I know that sounds maybe crazy if you just popped up in the past decade or so, but I think there's a lot of pressure in that job. And I think that, Dawn Staley, would she leave? I don't think she would. I wouldn't even put her on the list of candidates. I will say
How much money
this.
you got?
How
much money you got, Dave?
Well, I mean, you have to remember that women's basketball is not going to generate a ton of revenue. It never has. And so really what your goal is as a CEO, and Danny White, the athletic director, is make sure you don't lose a significant amount of money on women's basketball. I mean, even at their highest, they would make basically $1 million, but there was $1 million check that went from the football department to the women's basketball department. It was kind of like a way of moving money around, like a shell game. So basically it was a break even. And if you can get women's basketball or any non-revenue sport to be a break even, I think you're in good shape moving forward. But yeah, I will say this, Maurice, I don't believe in the who would you get mindset. I didn't know that, coach like Lane Kiffin was even on Tennessee's radar until shortly before he was hired. Now, you could say that it didn't work out, and it didn't. But I think there are big names to be gotten out there. I think there are up-and-coming stars. Josh Heupel is an example of that. And you might have a Rick Barnes fall in your lap. So I don't typically think of who is next just because you need to make a change. So, and I'm not saying they do need to make a change yet. I just think it's a topic for conversation for sure.
I guess my concern, Dave, is just that sometimes you can wind up in a worse situation if you're not careful.
And certainly, so, yeah. that would go, and that's Lane Kiffin. So while you could argue Lane Kiffin's, which I just did, was a good coach and a good hire at the time, it blew up a year later or 11 months later. Mm-hmm. So yes, it definitely could be in worse shape than you were before. No question.
Well, I mean, talking about high expectations, we're talking about a person being on the hot seat who's won 70% of her games, been to the second round in the Sweet 16 in 3 seasons.
Yeah. No,
and so that's you're right, but also like it's obvious why. I mean, when you watch this team play and you see what the capability that they have, and I don't think they're meeting their talent level. I don't think they are meeting where they should be. 0 wins against ranked opponents. Yeah, they're 17-9 on the year, but I think you're right, Dave. It's definitely a topic of conversation because the expectation is there, and so is the talent.
So what you're kind of included in there is the eye test as well,
Right?
And I agree with you. When I see them, it doesn't appear as if they are a well-coached team that is reaching their talent level or maybe even exceeding it. So, yes, that's a little bit more subjective, and but I agree with you in that. Now, when you throw in the 2 Sweet 16s, I mean, that on the men's side used to be they'd hang banners for that. But on the women's side, even though it is more competitive, which I alluded to, I think that at Tennessee, making the Sweet 16 year in and year out should be kind of the what's expected. I don't think it should be necessarily the goal. With all the money they put in it, I believe that should be something that happens every year for the most part. You might have an upset here and there with a hot shooting team, but I think that should be baseline.
Dave Hooker with Off the Hook Sports covers UT sports in Knoxville. You can find him at the Dave Hooker on Twitter. Joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. Dave, switching sides for just a second. That UT Auburn game, we talked about it yesterday, was not to be hung in the Louvre, as people like to say. I mean, how do they bounce back from that? Do they bounce back from that? I mean, they won the game, and for some people, that's going to be all that matters, I guess. But speaking of expectations, shouldn't the expectation be for them to be a little bit better offensively than that?
Yes, definitely. And yeah, I think that they're missing a component of the inside-outside game, and that's the outside. I think it goes in at the post and never comes back out, and that's partially because I think players are playing Tennessee on the perimeter defensively on other teams, and that's not going to change unless you knock down some threes. I think this team is probably a little bit in its head. If you had to make me bet on which of the 2 teams could turn things around, I would say the men at this point. And again, turn it around. I mean, they were 2 in the nation and they beat a ranked team. So I don't want to sound like I'm ripping them, but I do wonder if this style is the best fit for March, because you're playing a defensive style. And if you run against a hot shooting team, where are you getting your points? So, I mean, I think the men's team is a bit of a head scratcher as well, but I think they're a lot closer than the women.
So what you're saying is, in basketball, defense does not win championships necessarily.
As much as I hate to say it, yeah. I mean, if I could go back to the 90s and the 80s, I guess, harken back, and this is when usually my son's it feels like he's watching paint dries when I was, the hard fouls, all those sorts of things, and defensive basketball. It's just basketball's changed tremendously from the high school level all the way up to the NBA with the 3-point line. And I don't know the defensive basketball wins. I don't know the defensive basketball or defensive football wins anymore, which is really disheartening. But that's just kind of where we are, and you have to accept it and kind of go forward.
Meanwhile, the Vols come to Memorial Gym tomorrow night for a meeting with a Vanderbilt team that's looking like maybe they've got some things figured out. Maybe.
Potentially.
I mean, they beat Ole Miss by 3 Saturday. Now, that's not a good Ole Miss team, but they won a game after that tough one that they had at Alabama last week. I mean,
they played Alabama. They played Tennessee close in Knoxville. So you have to imagine that Memorial is going to have a little bit of a positive influence on Vanderbilt, right?
What's your read on tomorrow night, Dave?
Well, I mean, if Tennessee wins, it'll probably be because of defense after we just talked about that. I tend to think that Tennessee is going to trend upwards. You know, they've had some shifts because of nagging injuries in their lineup throughout the season. But I tend to think they're going to get those things figured out and get in the rhythm, despite the fact that they haven't looked fantastic the past couple of games. But, you know, again, as far as Vanderbilt, if they can defend Tennessee on the perimeter, they've got a great shot, and no pun intended. And Tennessee right now is easily defended on the perimeter. So if they're able to do that, if they're able to limit Tennessee and their 3-point makes, I think Vanderbilt has a chance to win this game. I still would pick Tennessee. I haven't seen a point spread at all, but I would think Tennessee would win this game, maybe somewhat comfortably. But again, it's whether or not Tennessee is able to score and whether or not Vanderbilt can keep Tennessee from scoring, I think in particular on the 3-point line.
There you go. Dave, have you got any new information out of the football program that we need to hear about before we let you go? There's not a whole lot going on, but if you've got anything that you've heard recently that needs to be talked about, we'd love to hear it.
Sure. Well, I mean, I think it's interesting that Josh Heupel has hired coaches from within, while you have Nick Saban hiring coaches from outside of the program. One he can control, one that wants to control the ball a little bit more on the defensive and offensive side, respectively. And then you have Tennessee that feels very comfortable, I believe, in the trend that they're going offensively, because they're not changing things up. They want to keep it the same, and they're keeping guys in house. They're elevating the positions to replace essentially Alex Golish, who went to Florida and South Florida to coach there. So I think that trend is interesting, because I think Nick Saban thinks he needs to be more physical offensively, and that's not Tennessee's direction. I also recently saw, and something I had mentioned a couple of days ago, that Tennessee just announced that Robert Ayers, if you remember him, was included in the coaching staff, I think as an analyst role. So I think that's really good, because here's a guy who has a ton of experience in the NFL, can teach some pass rushing skills. And I think Rodney Garner is a very good defensive line coach, but I think Rodney Garner is first and foremost always going to be thought of as a recruiter, and that's not a knock in any shape, form, or fashion. So I think having Ayers on staff is a really good thing for Tennessee. Not that they're allowed to work with the players at all; they just analyze film, right?
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, they've never spoken to a player ever.
Yeah, and Nick Saban doesn't have 20 coaches run out on the field either. But no, so NCAA rules be darned. I think that Tennessee will benefit from having Robert Ayers around for sure.
All right, Dave Hooker at the Dave Hooker on Twitter, Off the Hook Sports. We appreciate your time, man, as always, and look forward to talking to you again soon.
Yeah, anytime, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Dave.
We're going to take a break. We've got several things, matter of fact, that we need to get to, and some coaching moves in addition to the Titans being reported out there. So we'll mention those. We'll get to Texas. We'll get to Texas, Oklahoma, what's keeping them out of the SEC right now. And also, College Baseball Hall of Fame has a new inductee that is notable to us here at Main Street Sports today and in the state of Tennessee. So stick around. We'll tell you who that is on the other side of the break right after this.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance. This message presented by the TSSAA.
Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today. It's presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint. I'm Chris Yow. He's Mo Patton. All right, couple things before we get into anything else. Number one, Steve Wilkes is going to 49ers to be their defensive coordinator to replace D'Amico Ryans with an S. Plural.
Ryans.
Struggle so much with that. How do we struggle with that so much yesterday?
I don't know.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And Lance Guidry, who had left Marshall to take the Tulane defensive coordinator job, is now leaving Tulane to take the Miami defensive coordinator job. So, went to Miami via New Orleans.
It's not a bad vacation.
No. If you're going to spend some time somewhere,
Yeah.
it seems like a good spot to do it. So, yeah. So there you go. Couple notes. Steve Wilkes. And Brian Flores hired with the Minnesota as defensive coordinator. So he is out of the running for Arizona's head job, I guess.
Who's going to hire first, Arizona or Indianapolis?
I feel like Indianapolis already hired their guy. They just haven't announced it. Jeff Saturday's the guy. Jeff Saturday's getting the job, and it's the most ridiculous thing in the history of sports.
Well, okay. So once Jeff Saturday gets the job officially, are they in the market for a GM?
Yeah, because that guy's leaving. He's just going to – what's
Chris
his name?
Ballard.
Ballard. Yeah, I was going to say Brian, but Chris. Yeah, he's – if I'm him, I'm finding that somewhere else, anywhere else, ASAP.
Yeah, I mean, he's done everything but just say, I don't want this guy.
Yeah. So
or maybe he said, I don't
he
want
might
this
have.
guy.
Yeah, he might have, in fact. Maybe that's the reason they're negotiating. So anyway, what was our top story before we were so rudely interrupted by the Titans hiring an offensive coordinator? Mo, the National College Baseball Hall of Fame inducted several into their 2022. Their 2022 class was inducted recently.
This weekend.
And it includes former Pepperdine, Florida, and Arizona head coach Andy Lopez and Ricky Weeks.
Former Nashville Sound.
Ricky
Weeks.
Consensus College Baseball Player of the Year in 2003.
Out of Southern University.
In addition to that, out of Southern University was Coach Roger Cater.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Former Michigan All-American and Big Ten Player of the Year, Casey Close.
Which, not necessarily what he's been known for of late, but.
Also, agent to Dansby Swanson and formerly of Freddie Freeman. Formerly Freddie Freeman.
Why do I have static?
So I have to turn you up and down some because when you laugh, it's real and you're peaking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's okay. It is what it is.
I'll try not. Don't make me laugh then.
It's really hard. I'm just saying. Two-time NAIA national championship coach. Maybe you've heard of him out of Lipscomb University, Ken Dugan.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps you've heard of him. I don't know.
Some folks have.
8-time College World Series umpire Jim Garman.
That's impressive.
Out of the University of Tennessee, the first African-American member of the Tennessee baseball program, and first African-American starting quarterback in the Southeastern Conference, Conridge Holloway, the OG two sports man.
Absolutely. And
Conridge Holloway.
Apparently he could pick it at shortstop, man.
It's crazy, right?
Drafted by the Expos out of high school, I believe.
That sounds familiar.
All right.
USC All-American, Mount San Antonio head coach Art Mazmanian. That's an awesome name.
Not to be confused with Tasmanian.
Look, Art Mazmanian may be the greatest name in the history of names. And NCAA D3 Player of the Year from 1988, Ken Ritter from North Central College. That is the 2022 class of the National College Baseball Hall of Fame. Obviously, Ken Dugan and Conridge Holloway, the two names that we are most interested in. But yeah, if you go back and watch the Conridge Holloway documentary on SEC Storied, it's phenomenal. And, you just at that time, there weren't any real two-sport superstars. I mean, obviously in the 80s, Bo Jackson kind of made it a little more popular, and then in the 90s with Dion and Brian Jordan. But I don't think there's – if it had been more typical, I think he could have been the first one to do it.
Yeah, he was pretty dynamic, obviously, on the football field. Wound up having to go to Canada to play again. If you've seen the color orange on SEC Storied, it's fantastic. And if you haven't, it's still fantastic, and you should. But apparently had a 27-game hitting streak at UT that still stands as a school record. And is a member of the UT All-Century baseball team. I didn't realize that, but yeah, that's he had a pretty impressive baseball career. Oh, and also the first African-American to start a quarterback in the Southeastern Conference. So, Meanwhile, Coach Dugan, 37 years, 1,137 wins and 460 losses. Lipscomb won NAIA national championships in 77 and 79. They won 34 straight games in 84 and went to the NAIA World Series on 8 occasions while he was there. So they were back during that stretch. I remember because, again, I grew up here. They were the baseball power in this area, irregardless of what classification or what organization. Lipscomb had it going on.
Now, I don't know, but I need you to tell me how much fun do you think it would have been? Maybe we need to get Tommy on to answer this question. But Cumberland and Lipscomb at that time, Woody Hunt, Ken Dugan.
Well, now at that time, Cumberland was a junior college.
Oh, okay. So they weren't playing.
No, they weren't added at the same time.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, Cumberland did not go 4-year until late 80s, early 90s, I guess.
So they would have overlapped for a little bit.
Maybe because Lipscomb went NCAA
at
in
some
the
point
mid-90s as well. So that's goodness.
But those two coaches, I mean, the fact, and then you've got Middle Tennessee as far as baseball coaches. Think about that. I mean, with Dugan, Woody Hunt, obviously what Tim Corbin has done at Vanderbilt, what coaches did at Vanderbilt before Tim Corbin.
And you had Dave Whitten at Belmont as well, who is another legend in the baseball coaching ranks at the collegiate level. So,
I mean, it seems like baseball has kind of buttered Nashville's bread for a lot longer than anything else, though football and basketball have certainly inched their way into the conversation for sure.
Yeah.
But
you've got me trying to figure out when it was that Cumberland ceased to play junior college athletics, because at one time Cliff Ellis was there as basketball coach.
Wow. The former Auburn coach. So look at there. Anyway, be interested to get that information. But while you look that up, I will give folks give folks some different information. It's not really it's not necessarily sports unless sports entertainment is in your wheelhouse. Jerry Lawler suffered a stroke last night and was rushed to a hospital in Fort Myers, Florida. He underwent a medical procedure, according to updates on Twitter. Take that for what you will. His latest condition is good, and he is expected to recover. So, but yeah, the King out of Memphis, which is a really interesting character to try and portray out of Memphis. But you do you, Jerry. And he has for a very long time. So, Jerry Lawler is alive and apparently recovering. So that's good.
That's good to hear.
It is.
I've got some wrestling fans that will be pleased to know that.
I'm a big fan of Jerry. I mean, Mid-South Wrestling was, that and the NWA at Georgia, they were the two best things going. I mean, just ask my dad when he would go to Bout Auditorium and watch that stuff in the 70s and 80s. He got in for free though, because one of the security guys said, "You're not paying to get in to watch this crap." So
good for him.
So he got to go for free.
Good for him.
Oh, but anyway, some of the more talked about teams in college football right now are Texas and Oklahoma, but it's not necessarily for what they're doing on the field, Mo. The Longhorns and Sooners will soon be joining the SEC. And when that's going to be is not entirely obvious at this point. And one of the reasons, according to Ross Dellinger of Sports Illustrated, has a great article on sinow.com. Basically, TV contracts are holding it up. And we mentioned this last week, but apparently they were trying to trade some TV rights. So ESPN and Fox said, okay, we'll let Texas and Oklahoma go, but when Texas plays Michigan, we get the rights to that game. And ESPN was like, fine, but when USC plays Oklahoma, we get the rights to that game or something. I don't know. They couldn't quite get together and come up with a plan. But I think the talks are I think they're ongoing so much so that 24 is the more likely scenario. Don't you think?
Seems so. I mean, it doesn't look like they're going to be able to get that hashed out any. 24 is that?
25 is when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
No matter what, 25.
I just can't see. Like you said, I think it was one day last week when we were talking about it. The lame duck situation.
They're already going to have 1 year of it.
Yeah. Why would you want multiple years of that?
My only thing is return games. Getting Texas into your stadium one final time. That's the only thing I can think of. Getting Oklahoma into your stadium one final time. I have to think that those gates are a little bigger than Kansas State and Iowa State. Just a hunch. So I mean, I think that's kind of that's what some of the schools might want, but they're getting the money either way.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to get a buyout.
Oh yeah,
if they leave early. So does that,
and that's going to be like an 8-figure buyout.
Yeah, and here's the thing: the from what I understand is the schools and the conference have already said, okay, it's the TV deals that are holding this up completely, according to this article. Now, what that means is, when they're talking, Texas and Oklahoma in the SEC, and we had a comment about it earlier, and I wanted to kind of mention it because this is the comment was, what's going to happen with college football in the SEC when they expand and what the schedule is going to look like. And we talked about this last week is, they obviously have an idea, but they're going to go to 9 conference games. Well, the problem with the 9 conference games is that Now you only have 3 non-conference games, right? Well, you've scheduled out till 2030.
Mm-hmm.
So now you've got teams who are, who are going to have to pay somebody else to buy out that game because you've now got a forced conference game, which a forced conference game, so long as you're not playing, the worst team in the league that year, you're probably going to make up that money with, with attendance and all the things that go with that
TV,
and TV and all of that. But we think they've got to go 9. It's got to be the 3-6 model where you have 3 every year opponents and then 6 that rotate.
You've put a lot more thought into this situation than I have, so I don't really.
Well,
have
that's
a
what the
feel
ACC
for it.
is doing. Remember, where they have the 3.
Oh yeah,
and then they had those 4 teams don't necessarily play the same everybody.
Mhm.
They just play each other every year. So Tennessee would play Vanderbilt, Kentucky, and Alabama. Say, I don't know that may be Vanderbilt, Georgia, and Alabama. I don't know. Could be South Carolina. I don't know.
Mhm. Sure.
What I do know is that, you're going to have 3, I think, and this is to answer your question, old geezer, whoever you are. I wish we knew who you were. And we appreciate you watching every day. I promise you that. But there's no East and West. No, the East and West are gone after this year. There's no East and West. Is it this year or next year?
I thought it was whenever they came in.
Okay. I think it may be, but so they're going away from divisions. The top 2 records will play in the SEC championship
and
game.
at some point, fairly quickly, that's going to be an issue because you're going to have like a tie for second between 2 teams that didn't play the same folks, or 2 teams that didn't play each other.
Right. And then it's going to go to the CFP rankings. And then the team that loses in the championship game that got in, and then the other team that didn't have to play jumps them for the playoffs.
It's going to be so messy.
But yes, it'll be. I think what you're going to see is 3 teams. So you'll have 3 every year opponents, no matter what. And then you'll have 6 teams that rotate, where you'll play 6 teams at home one year, and then you'll go to their place the next year, and then it'll be another 6 teams. And obviously, you're going to play some of them multiple years in a row, 4, 5, 6, 7 years in a row. But that's what I think is going to happen.
Just talking about it has blown my mind. You've shorted my.
Can you? And I know it was a long time ago. But do you remember what it was like having these conversations at the water cooler before '92, when South Carolina and Arkansas came in?
It's funny, man, because when South Carolina and Texas and Arkansas came in '92, and they proposed, going to divisions, and they proposed the SEC championship and all that. And the talk was that, well, the SEC will never win a national championship because all they're going to do is just beat each other up.
Right. And
then they won it right out the box.
Alabama proceeded to throw that out the window.
Absolutely. I mean, it was funny as all get
out. And then Florida 3 years later.
Yeah. But that was the talk then. I specifically remember that, and at the water cooler and at the watering hole and that kind of thing. It was, why is the SEC doing this? This is never going to work. But
the good thing is that everybody's kind of doing it at the same time. The Big Ten, the SEC, the ACC are all kind of doing this at the same time. It's not one league that is just jumping out to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's going to make a difference.
And
the expansion of the playoff, obviously, with 12 teams.
Mm-hmm. But the SEC kind of started this whole thing with the Texas Oklahoma right off the rip, out of nowhere, a couple of summers ago.
I'll never forget. It was so wild. I mean, we were just sitting there like, what are we going to talk about today on the show? And then boom. It was like, what are we going to talk about the rest of the year? This. And so, there was a clear East and West back then and there. But I think like this year, Tennessee lost to South Carolina, but if Tennessee had gotten to play Georgia in Atlanta as the number 2 team in the conference, which, they would have done thanks to LSU losing to Texas A&M. So Georgia and Tennessee would have played. If Tennessee wins that game, they're in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I like the idea of no divisions because, again, they talked about it for so, what happens if 6-6 Virginia goes 6-2 in the Coastal League and then plays undefeated Clemson in the ACC championship and beats Clemson for the ACC title, then what? You got 7-6 Virginia going to the playoffs?
Yes, exactly.
And this eliminates that possibility.
It eliminates that. Now, what it doesn't eliminate is, like, hypothetically, Alabama, Auburn playing in the Iron Bowl and then turn around and playing a week later in Atlanta.
Well, I mean, that's what would have happened to Michigan and Ohio State the last 2 years if they had not had divisions.
Right.
But look, we've had rematches in the playoffs. Now, I know it was one game removed, but I don't hate that.
Well, I mean, not only was it one game removed, but it was a month removed. I mean,
sure.
What was it, 3 years ago or whatever, when MTSU and UAB played?
And then turn around and right back.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the next week.
I mean, I just don't know that anybody – I think it's going to be tough to get fired up for that second game coming so quickly.
One of the teams will be.
No, I mean from a fan standpoint.
But the losing team's fans will be awfully fired up. Oh, we're going to don't you worry. We're going to get you to the neutral site next. And then, but yeah, and then the winning team will be griping because we just beat you.
Yeah.
But if you think you're the better team,
it shouldn't be a problem.
So I don't know. Anyway, that's what's keeping things going. So now you know. We need to take a break as Chip Walters standing by. Speaking of MTSU, the Blue Raiders. We'll talk about them right after this on Main Street Sports Today. Stick around.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think about calling for a ride. Nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that can happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone.
It's time to get tickets for the Nash Vegas Casino Night at Auction presented by King Jewelers. It's Wednesday, February the 8th at Bridgestone Arena. This year's theme is reverse retro, so break out the Musters jerseys and Y2K fashion. Challenge Roman Yossi to a game of blackjack, or join Ryan McDonough as he rolls the dice at the craps table. Mix and mingle with the players and Preds personalities while bidding on auction items and tasting food from local restaurants. All proceeds benefit the Preds Foundation. Visit NashvillePredators.com/gala.
Walmart Supply Chain is hiring in Lebanon. Earn up to $22.25 an hour when you join our new fulfillment center. Enjoy competitive pay and premium perks, including 100% paid college tuition, 401k match, flexible schedules, a free Walmart Plus membership that includes discounts, and free Paramount Plus, paid time off, and so much more. Fulfilling work starts right here. Text JOIN to 240-240. That's JOIN 240-240 to apply now.
This is attorney Bart Durham, and this is me. I'm Aaliyah. Keeping in good physical condition is really important to me. But when I had a wreck with a tractor-trailer truck that hurt my legs so bad I couldn't work for almost a year, I knew I needed a lawyer that understood tractor-trailer cases. So I called Bart. Bart gets millions of dollars for his clients every year.
At Bar Durham Injury Law, we've handled hundreds of tractor-trailer cases.
My dad and I want to help. Give us a call at 615-242-9000.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yow and Mo Patton coming to you live from the dimple of the universe here in Columbia, Tennessee. And on Tuesdays, we put out our power rankings because that's when the power rankings come out. No, on Tuesdays, we visit with a native of the Dimple, and that is Chip Walters, who joins us now on Main Street Sports Today. Chip, what's up?
Just a beautiful day in the mid-state. Broke out the short sleeves today, and just kind of enjoying it. I was glad that I had several things in a row outside of the office today, and that worked out well.
We figured you just brought this weather back with you from your trip to Florida this weekend.
That was 2 weekends ago. We were
he was here this weekend.
Oh, that's my bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and
it starts to run together after a while.
It was not the best weather. We were in Florida for Wednesday night, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and we probably had about 3 hours of sunshine that weekend. It was not the best Florida weather ever, but there are times when it is. So it kind of all evens out a little bit.
Well, so you guys were at home this weekend. That's right.
Women had to go to Texas to UTEP and UTSA, and the men were at home against UTEP on Thursday and UTSA on Saturday.
And those games went significantly better for the men than the women.
Well, they did. The women, dropped 2 after having had the long win streak and dropped a game at UTEP, and then the one at UTSA is really the one that is kind of the head scratcher because they just had a horrible shooting day, and there's a difference. Coaches will tell you there's a difference between playing well and shooting well, and you want to be able to do both. And in talking to Coach Insel, he said, they played well, got the looks they wanted, just didn't knock them down. But so they dropped 2, which pulled them out of the top 25, and did significant damage to any hope for an at-large bid. So I think their focus is on winning the tournament. The guys, on the other hand, after dropping 2 in Florida, came home for UTEP and UTSA, and they avenged the UTSA loss on Saturday with a 24-point win. And I tell you, the UTEP game last Thursday night, it was on ESPNU, and I don't know if you guys got to watch any of that or listen, but it was one of those. It was just a terrific college basketball game that Middle pulled away in the second half. UTEP is really, really good defensively. They really frustrate you and deny almost everything and try to get you out of what you're doing offensively. But Middle was able to put it together especially in the second half. Had a small lead at halftime and pushed it out and ended up winning by 12.
It was a good way. I did, in fact, watch several minutes of that game. And it seemed like, to me, Middle really they really turn up the dial at home. And I don't know if that's, that they've not had a good year on the road, but it seems like they're a different team. I watched them out at UTSA, who, by the way, not very good.
That is UTSA's only conference
win. I watched that game, and then I watched this game, and they look like 2 totally different teams to me.
Yeah. And and I think you ask Coach McDevitt if you could pick out a road game where you were totally out of character, and I think UTSA would come up. And Middle was down 16 early in the second half in that game, came back, got it tied, and UTSA hit a shot at the buzzer to win. But it was one that I think they all felt like that was the one that got away. And outside of that, the Charlotte. Charlotte has not been great lately, but they were terrific early in the year when Middle had to go over there. Blue Raiders got that one back when Charlotte came to visit. The the 2 road trips remaining are tough. This week, Thursday night in Bowling Green to play Western Kentucky, who is starting to get it together. Saturday afternoon in Birmingham against UAB, and they are playing really well right now. Jelly Walker is back. And then
he's bringing hell with him.
Yes, he is. He's bringing it with him.
I watched them play Florida Atlantic because I had a feeling they were going to win that game after the way they played down in Boca and losing in overtime, and they did win the game, but still not enough to get ahead of Middle in the conference standings, because Middle is now the number 3 seed.
Right, because as of today, Middle has the tiebreaker on UAB, so that's what makes Saturday critical. But to make Saturday even more critical, you've got to take care of things on Thursday, and and I sound like a broken record, but this is, especially in the top half, this is as good as this league has been, since Middle and Western in particular have been part of it. And now what Middle has left, you got the road trip to Western and UAB. Then next week you've got the Florida schools coming in. The following week you have you play one game and Louisiana Tech coming in, and then you finish out at North Texas and at UTEP, which is not an easy way to finish, especially you finish at the farthest away from home you can be and still be in the league at the Don Haskins Center in El Paso, and then have to turn right back around and go back to Texas and go to Frisco for the tournament. So, you're going to enjoy. You're in a 4-week stretch here where you're only, for the players, you're only not in your own bed for 3 nights out of 4 weeks, but then right after that, you've got a tough trip coming up to wind it up and then get into the tournament. So, as Coach McDevitt likes to laugh when I tell him, it's time to make some hay right now, and it is here, and it's all lying in front of you right now.
Chip, I don't know what pull or what say you have with the schedule makers, but wouldn't it make more sense for the travel partners to close the year playing each other, maybe?
Wow.
Just because that trip to Texas at the end of the year from Middle, the only way that could be worse would be if it was Charlotte, sounds like.
Yeah, or FIU having to go out there, FIU and FAU having to make that trip. But
just wait till you have to go to New Mexico State.
Well, hey, but the thing is, that won't be so bad, because you'll make one trip and you'll play UTEP and New Mexico State on the same weekend. The what's been ridiculous in the schedule this year is how the first 4 weeks of the league race, Middle had to go on the road on Thursday and then try to get back as quick as you can to play a home game on Saturday. And that happened 3 weeks in a row. Then you had the full trip to Florida, and on those three weeks where they had to go on the road on Thursday and come home for Saturday, their Saturday opponent was playing in Bowling Green on Thursday and had a 90-minute bus ride to get. And while Middle, playing at home, had a flight from somewhere coming in either late Thursday night or early on Friday morning. So the schedule with this year has been, I've not seen or talked to anyone who has enjoyed how it was laid out this year.
So who did Middle make mad in the league office?
I don't know. That's what
everybody when they were trying to leave, apparently.
Well, you'd think that whoever stayed
would be mad.
Get a little most favored nation status a little bit. But
I thought y'all were the good guys and Western was the bad guys in these situations. What's going on?
I don't know, but
which is always the case, right? Though exactly. Middle's always the good guys and Western's always the bad guys.
In that scenario, yes.
Yeah, but So
nice shirt, Chip. I like that color.
Thank you. I've got, matter of fact, I've got 2 or 3. Yeah, I guess you do, don't you? But Thursday night, it's big for both the men and the women. The women want to get back on track, obviously, and they will be at home against Western Kentucky, who right now, after this past weekend, is only one game behind them. And of course, the middle men go to Bowling Green, and it's going to be a whiteout at Diddle Arena on Thursday. So like I said, they're starting to play. I expect a big crowd, and it'll be intense.
What time is that tip Thursday night, Chip?
There'll be 7 bells.
7 bells.
Interesting.
Yep. The women's game will be a 6 p.m. start in Murfreesboro.
But they're having camping night?
Do what?
You said it was going to be intense.
Oh.
Come on, Justin. Where's my bell? Where's my ding?
Don't
encourage
him. No.
Here's the bad part.
Brought to you by Camping World, right?
Here's the bad part, Chip. Middle's remaining opponents, their record is 51-38.
Wow.
Yeah.
On the men's side, right?
Whereas UAB's remaining record is 38-51. So if you're in that tie, you're not feeling too good about getting that top 3 seed. Hey, it's all right. UAB's got to go on the road 5 times. You only got to go 4. So maybe
we'll see. Yeah.
We'll see. I just thought when you're looking at this particular season, it is the toughest that Conference USA has been in a long time. Charlotte is 4-8 in the conference, and their point differential is -1.
Yeah, how about that?
That's it. That right there just goes to show. Outside of UTSA, everybody is right there with you. It could go either way any night, any given night in Conference USA. So, looking forward to seeing what Nick McDevitt has in store. I know Rick's going to be fired up on this weekend.
One of the things that Coach McDevitt did last Thursday and Saturday, he made a couple of changes in his starting lineup. Justin Porter started at the point in place of Cam Weston, and Tyler Millen moved into the starting lineup. T. Leonard came off the bench. T had an ankle turn down in Florida and didn't practice until game day leading up to the UTEP game last Thursday night. So Tyler started there, but T came off the bench Saturday and scored 13. Tyler also had a double-figure day. So that change in the lineup has held. Will it change back any or all on Thursday? Don't know that just yet. But Cam Weston, coming off the bench, has played 2 of his best second halves of the season in the last 2 games. And while Porter has really had a level of energy that got the Blue Raiders off to a nice start. And so, you may have kind of found something almost by accident by doing that. Also, the emergence of Jared Coleman Jones has allowed for extended minutes for him, which also, speaking of fresh legs and things like that, to have a fresher DeAndre Dishman down the stretch in those games, which, a basketball team or a football team, either you're always either getting better or you're taking a little step back. You rarely remain the same. And the tweaks they made, I think have made them better for right now. And we'll see how that plays into this week because, Coach McDevitt always talks about you have to win your home games. You have to win your home games, and you have to go try and grab what you can on the road. But the thing is, everybody else is saying the same thing too. And you're going to go to a couple of places this week that have outstanding home atmospheres, and you are going to have to bring everything you got to win 1 or 2 of these.
Yep. Baseball and softball getting underway.
Softball heads west for the first of 4 straight weekend tournaments. They will be in Riverside, not Riverside School on the Duck River, but they will be in Riverside, California this weekend. Being a Riverside alum, my own self, from the old building over there, but they're going out there. The baseball team has another week and to prepare. They'll be going to Coastal for a weekend, and I think VCU, Coastal, and I'm not sure who the third Fairfield, I think, is that is the third opponent. But this past Friday, Jerry Myers had presided over his first groundhog luncheon, and it was a big success. He and his staff did a great job. The players did a terrific job. The ones we had a little panel discussion, and Jaden Ham was part of that. So he did a really good job, and over 500 folks were there indulging in the delicacies of ham hocks, white beans, tomato salad, cornbread, chocolate cake, and vanilla ice cream. So good time was had by all.
We discussed late last week, early this week, I guess, the preseason Conference USA all-conference team came out, and Jaden Ham was named to that along with Jared. What's the last name, Chip? Because I'm not exactly sure on the pronunciation.
Oh, gosh. I've gone blank here as well. Was JT Mabry on there also?
No, it was just those two, Jaden and Jared. Jared Vito?
Vito.
Okay.
Yeah.
Say it like it sounds.
Vito.
Well, that's what I thought, but I've not always heard it pronounced that way, so I didn't know. Okay.
He lives in a dorm. He's not intense. So
Thank goodness.
Thank you. There you go, Chris. So
I'm glad, because last week wouldn't have worked out. This week you probably could have handled it.
Yeah,
that's right.
It sounds like big things are expected out of Jaden this spring.
I think so. I think he's going to be called on. He'll be one of those guys on the weekends, and I think that next weekend will be a pretty good shakedown cruise on your pitching staff as well. To see how you're going to be offensively. They inter-squatted yesterday, so and that they'll do that again this weekend, and try to get in as much scrimmage time as possible. And even before Middle was picked sixth, and even in years when they've been picked first or second, preseason college baseball polls are. I'm not sure worth the paper they're printed on, either good or wherever you're picked. If you're picked at the top or at the bottom, I wouldn't trust them. But now that the transfer portal has jumped in there even stronger, then you just really don't know what everybody's going to have on their rosters until they've played a couple of weekends.
Pretty good bunch of local kids on this Blue Raider
roster.
Yeah. So a lot of folks that we're going to be interested in keeping up with. Jackson Marbett from Spring Hill.
By the way, hold the phone right there. You've been to the Groundhog Luncheon before, and they always give the Railbird jacket to someone who has been a special to the baseball program. This year's award winner was none other than Bill Marbett.
Goodness gracious. The legendary Bill Marbett. That's fantastic.
Does anybody deserve it more than him?
No.
Yeah.
Can't be. But Jackson comes in as a freshman this year. Briggs Rudder from Zion Christian is a junior. Good Lord, time flies. Let's see. I know, again, we've talked about Jaden Ham. Brian Baranek from Columbia Academy as a freshman now, right-handed pitcher. Who were you mentioning?
Didn't JT Mabry? Isn't he from around here?
No, he's from Chesterfield, Missouri.
Okay.
No. But Page has got a kid over there, Easton Snyder, and the youngest similar, Bryce, is playing his sophomore year over there as well. So again, a lot of local flavor on that
head
team.
Manager Noah Boffman from Centennial.
CCCHS.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Always nice when we can talk about Centennial. Yeah. Okay.
Chip, as always, Tuesdays are fun. We look forward to the next one.
Adios, Kazooks. Yep. Well, it ought to be a pretty good interesting weekend to talk about. We'll see how it all plays out.
We'll see whether or not I'm wearing green next Tuesday.
That's right.
Oh, goodness gracious. There we go. Yeah. Thanks, Chip. We'll talk to you.
All right. See you guys.
All right. It is now time for Top 5 Tuesday, and it's brought to you by our friends at Mid-South 5 Fitness. Dallas Still and the fine folks there. Stillathletes.com, at Stillathletes on Twitter, or I'm sorry, not on Twitter, on Instagram. STEEL, no E. So there you go. All right. Last week, we had the top 5 active U.S. sports stadiums. Mo, with 80% of the votes, you win.
How about it?
80% of the votes.
80%. Justin earned 20% of the vote, and I got 0.
Oh.
So,
apparently, Nissan Stadium got him 20%. So,
or my charm.
One of the two. Today, we draft the greatest individual performances in Super Bowl history, and we start with me. Justin, you'll be second.
All right.
Mo, you'll pick last in this draft. So, of course, I'm going to go with Super Bowl 23, wide receiver Jerry Rice, 11 for 215, Super Bowl record, and a touchdown. So,
okay.
It's a good one. That's a good one. I'm going to go with the GOAT against the Atlanta Falcons, 28-3 comeback to win the Super Bowl. I believe that was 2015. No, it was 2019. Let me see. You know what I'm talking about, though, right?
Yep, Tom Brady versus the Falcons.
Yeah, I'm familiar. I'm fully familiar. I'm going to go with I'm trying to find it. Doug Williams in Super Bowl 22, I believe it was, for 4 touchdowns in the second quarter.
Yeah,
and
was, of course, the first black quarterback to win.
He was, yes, but he wound up. He was 18 of 29 for 340 yards and 4 scores, and all of those came in the second quarter in that 42-10 Washington win over Denver. So,
yeah, that was 22. You're right. I'm gonna go. I hate to do this. Super Bowl 21, just going backwards. Mm-hmm. Phil Simms, 88% completion percentage, 268 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's pretty damn good.
That's solid. That's really solid.
I mean, geez.
Justin?
So I'm going to go with the February 4th, 2007, I believe it was. This is maybe forgotten because it was against Indianapolis, and they did lose, but Chicago's Devin Hester, 3 kick returns altogether, 1 punt return for 3 yards, but 2 kick returns for 95 yards and a touchdown. Unbelievable performance. I mean, if you're a kick returner, what more can you do?
Exactly. I'm going to stay in Super Bowl 22, and I'm going to go with the running back, Timmy Smith, 22 carries, 204 yards, 2 touchdowns for Washington in that win.
All right. My number 3 is going to be, let's go with Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner when he was with the Rams in Super Bowl 34.
Oh man.
414 yards. What do you want me to do? 414 yards it's still a record.
Man.
I got to go. Or sorry.
No, go ahead. Go.
I was just going to say my third pick was going to be Eli Manning against Tom Brady. Helmet catch year, February 3rd, 2008.
With my number 3 pick, I'm going to go with Steelers linebacker James Harrison in Super Bowl 43.
That was a solid game.
100-yard interception return for a touchdown.
43.
Yeah, 43 against the Cardinals.
I'm going to go in a losing effort. I'm with you, Justin. Super Bowl 38, Jake Delhomme. He just about outdueled Tom Brady. And honestly, I was rooting for him. Of course, the best individual performance in that game was from Janet Jackson.
Oh,
let's be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Where's the ding?
Let's be honest here. Mo said no. The best individual performance was from Justin Timberlake.
Yeah, true. Exactly.
Stop it. Stop it.
My number 4 will be Von Miller, 2.5 sacks for 6 tackles and 2 forced fumbles, Super Bowl 50 MVP against the Carolina Panthers.
I'm going all the way back to the beginning. My number 4 pick. And Bart Starr in Super Bowl 1. Completed 16 of 23 passes for 250 yards and 2 touchdowns in Green Bay's 35-10 win over Kansas City.
Well, I'm going to be not far behind you. I've got to go with Joe Namath, baby.
Nice.
Guaranteed it.
Broadway Joe.
I got to go with my last pick will be same game as you were talking about the pick 6 there, Mo. I got to go Santonio Holmes. Super Bowl
Just for
40.
the catch.
The catch. I don't know that Super Bowl 40, but yeah, the catch, man. That toe tap, best toe tap ever.
All right, I'm going to finish this off with Herman Thomas. Speaking of losing efforts, 15 carries for 135 yards and a score, and 5 catches for 55 yards in the Bills' 20-19 loss in Super Bowl 25.
Damn, former Birmingham Stallion Scott Norwood.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good. That's it for our show today. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. That was Top 5 Tuesday. Vote in the poll. Be up here shortly. We'll see you guys tomorrow.